In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a day to night time lapse with your drone, so let's get started. Normally in a time lapse you'd be leaving your camera in one position for a very long time, although this is not going to be possible because we're flying and also drones only last from 15 to 20 minutes at the moment. We're going to have to use at least 2 batteries with 2 sets of shots, however you can use as many as you like. In the end I used 4. Since it'll be impossible for us to keep our drone in the same place after landing it, changing the batteries and flying it back up, we're going to have to do our best to minimize the distance where we think we were. I accomplish this through several ways. First, I would always wait till my GPS was locked before taking off, and I would also launch from the same spot which I marked. I would always fly to the same height, which in this series was 140 meters. And I would always target my focus and center of my screen on the same building. As a side note, it's very good to first lock onto your focus target and then set from your autofocus to your manual focus, just in case your drone decides to refocus in the middle of your time lapse, which can ruin everything. I was also flying in strong winds, which did not help, but I was still very happy with my results. So to get the best results, try and do it on a calm day, but you can still get something good depending on the weather, as long as it's not raining. For capturing the photos during the day, I think I mostly use auto settings. However, it'd be a good idea to keep a custom white balance, and I was using 2-second intervals. If your drone doesn't let you use 2-second intervals, it may be because you're shooting in RAW. I had to switch from RAW to JPEG, which allowed me to switch my interval from 10 seconds down to 2 seconds. Right, so once you're set, just fly your drone up into position, start your time lapse, and I really want a lot of photos, so I just let it run down till it was about 30% battery, landed it, then came back later in the day. Initially I tried to catch morning, afternoon, sunset, and night. However, some of the shots didn't come out very well, so I decided to use the afternoon, 2 sunsets, and 1 night. However, you can repeat this as many times to make the range of the scene that you're looking for. The only difference is that for the night photos, I did switch from the automatic camera to the manual camera because I needed a longer shutter speed. I believe my shutter speed was at 1.3 or 1.6 seconds, which will also give you a nice effect of the cars streaking and other lights such as the trains going through the night. For the night photos, I should also mention that you should be following your local laws. Since these were shot in JPEG, I don't need to change them from RAW to JPEG, however I am going to quickly open up in Lightroom just because I want to change a few things. Usually for my photos I'll reduce the highlights so that the sky comes out, I'll increase the shadows so that I can see more detail, and I'll usually mess around with a white and black point, as well as adding a gradiated filter to the sky, which I can reduce to just make it a little bit darker. However, for the night photos I will tone down the temperature because I believe that a nice blue makes it appear more night-like. Also make sure whenever you're editing your photos in big bulks like this that you select all of them and synchronize it so all your photos look the same. Next I'll be putting these photos into After Effects because I want to stabilize them. So in After Effects I'm going to go to Composition, New Composition. I'm going to be using 1080p by 24 frames per second. Over in the Effects Controls you're going to go to Project, Composition 1, right click, Import, File, then you want to select your photos. Now you do not need to select every photo if you have Import JPEG Sequence selected, so I'm just going to select the first one and then it's going to include all of them in order by their file number. Now from the little stack of photos we have here, I'm going to drag this onto the timeline. You'll notice that the photos don't fit in the frame. That is because the working area is the 1080p export quality and these images are 4000 by 2250. So we're just going to grab one of the corners and resize it. Because the aspect ratios are slightly different, it's not going to match up perfectly to the 1080p, but that doesn't matter because as you stabilize it, the images will be moving up and down. Here we have our unstabilized time lapse of the afternoon when the sun's coming down. Now there's actually one of the frames here was overexposed for some reason. It flashes white, which is very distracting. So we're going to have to remove that and also stabilize this. Now to remove that one frame is very simple. Just delete that frame, then copy one of the neighboring files and rename it so it's the same name as the deleted file. That's just going to help the sequence along so you have every frame, one of them is repeated, but it's going to be so minuscule that no one could possibly notice. So we are going to go into Effect, Distort, Warp Stabilizer VFX. Now where it says smooth motion, this would be if you're doing a moving shot. However, we are doing a stationary shot, so I'm going to switch this to no motion. Now you're going to have to wait for your computer to render this up. It'll take a while. The stabilization is now complete and I quite like it. There's a little bit of wobbling, but it doesn't matter too much. I can always edit that part out. You can always mess with these settings to see if you can get something a little bit better, but these are what I did use. I'm happy with this, so I am now going to render it. So to do that, I am going to go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. If you're happy with these settings of the name, you can click on Render. However, you can change the name by clicking on where it says Comp1 AVI. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have to repeat this for all the frames I did. So that's going to be 4 of these for me, because I did afternoon, 2 during the sunset, and 1 during night. I actually did some other ones, but I didn't quite like the way the photos turned out, so I decided to discard those. Just do this to all of the frames that you captured, and then once you're finished, put them into your video rendering program for the final step, which is going to be aligning them, because they are still going to be a little bit off, but it's only a minor detail. Now that I have my 4 files rendered and in Premiere, all I need to do is line them up. So I've got them all on the same timeline, but the easiest way to line them up is going to be to put one on top of the other in the track. So I'm going to change the opacity to say 50%. Okay, and we can see where they are different. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of moving around and just trying to get these as close together as possible. So to do that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit because we're not going to have all the same frames. And now I'm going to return the opacity to 100. So there's a little bit of a zoom in, but that's okay. You can always make it a bit smaller. You want to be doing this to all 4 of your frames, but I'm going to first put this one back onto the timeline, and I'm going to test video transitions, dissolve, cross dissolve, and see how that looks. I'll try and make this cross dissolve a little bit larger, and let's see how it renders into each other. So it actually works quite well. As you can see, it does look a lot better than when I just switched between the 2 of them. So you want to go ahead and do that to every frame. So now we are finished and you have your completed sequence. One thing that I did do is I did speed up some of the clips to make it a bit quicker, and then I made it a bit shorter and also repeated it multiple times, so it'll go from day to night over and over until about a minute long. And I really like that. It's going to make a great GIF or Instagram video, and these are just with very basic transitions. So here's a couple other transitions that I tried. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if this video helped you, be sure to give me a like. Please leave any comments, suggestions, or requests for future videos in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe for any future content, and until next time, my name's been Joshua Daniel, and Alice Clark, auf Wiedersehen.